everybody to another edition of Pure Picks. I'm James, and we're here to break down UFC 311. New year 2025. Wanted to start off with a bang. Let's get some profit going in. This week's event actually will be in Inglewood. There's some fires going on in the LA area right now, so hopefully those will just die down and the event will still be here. If not, I think it'll be moved to Vegas. So at the moment, big prayers up to everybody who is dealing with the fires right now in Los Angeles. Getting to the event, I did want to break this down. I think that I'm going to break down the main card for this week. I saw some really interesting fights that I wanted to go over for the main card. Prelims, early prelims. We can get that maybe later on in the week, or just hop on Discord if you guys want to talk about it. But for now, I'm just going to do the main card. So first off, we have a fight between Kevin Holland and Reinier de Ridder. Reinier de Ridder obviously was a guy that I tried to fade against GM3. GM3 was my lock of the week, and that did not go well. Obviously lost there, but he was making it pretty competitive for that fight. Let's look at the odds for that right now. We got Reinier de Ridder minus 110. Kevin Holland's minus 110. Obviously, this is a pick'em at the moment. You guys can see here that Kevin Holland actually opened up at a minus 160. Reinier de Ridder plus 140 on Bet Online. Looking at this fight, I think it's I really do think it's a 50-50 fight. We saw Reinier de Ridder. He is a very good grappler, first and foremost. He did out-grapple GM3. However, I think that fight where he beat GM3 is more so GM3 gassing, I would say. As you guys can see here, I mean, first round, obviously, Reinier de Ridder knocked him down. Second round, GM3, I think, won that round. He was doing a little bit better on the feet. He did get also more control time. And then the last round, he just gassed out. And, I wish that GM3 would have had more cardio, but Reinier de Ridder did show that he does have the gas tank to have his awkward, funky style of grappling and also striking play out for 15 minutes, I would say. So I don't think he's going to gas out in this fight. Kevin Holland's not going to gas out in this fight either. He has a pretty good gas tank. I think this fight's going to come down simply to if Kevin Holland is going to be able to get out of those positions when he gets taken down, because I think he will get taken down. Every fight that he's been at 185, he's been taken down nonstop. I mean, we just saw the last fight, right? He did injure, I think, his rib against Roman Dolidze, but still, Dolidze got the takedown, controlled him for over half of the round, and got that victory there. So, yeah, his track record of facing middleweight fighters who have takedown ability have not been good, and I think that's going to continue here. So I'm going to go with Reinier de Ridder. I don't think it's going to be a super confident pick. Obviously, it's a pick 'em, but if I had to play a side, I would pick Reinier de Ridder for the win. I personally think he's probably going to ride out a decision because Kevin Holland, he hasn't really been subbed too much in his UFC career thus far. If we're just looking back at it right now, I think that the only time he got subbed, obviously, was when he got choked out Brandon Allen right here. So pretty good grappler, too. That could also play out here. But that was 5 years ago, and then he got subbed out by Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, can't take away anything too much from that. Khamzat's probably the best grappler in the UFC right now. So I think there is a real possibility of a submission because Reinier de Ridder, he goes for it. He gives up. He's more of a submission over position grappler, so he does give up those positions to try to get that finish. Kevin Holland's also a pretty decent grappler as well. So, I think that both those things are going to play out, and I think Reinier de Ridder is probably going to win decision. So that's going to be my pick. If you look at the odds right here, that by decision right now, we can see here that's plus 240. So it did open up at plus 225, and then obviously people haven't been taking that action. So yeah, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I do think that Reinier de Ridder will win via decision. Maybe a better play could be goes a distance, but also, I mean, both these guys, it's just a really tricky fight because you just never can trust a guy like Kevin Holland and Reinier coming in with his funky game. I would just personally stay away from this. But yeah, picker is going to be Reinier via decision. Let's go to the next fight that we have here on the main card. All right, next one is going to be a great lightweight bout between Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano. Money Moicano coming up. Moicano right now is a minus 170, opened up at a minus 210. So a bit of yo-yoing action here. I think that people have been taking some dog odds. I mean, I've seen some people take Beneil Dariush. I think it makes sense, obviously. For this pick, you know, if we do go through the percentages and the records too, you know, Renato Moicano, he's on a pretty decent win streak, right? But I think that this is actually a really good matchup for Beneil Dariush. It's a guy that probably doesn't have that power to KO him, at least quickly. And Beneil Dariush is one of the most decorated grapplers in the UFC, bar none. And, you know, I just watched the Gamrot fight. Obviously, he couldn't really, Gamrot couldn't take him down. He was getting pieced up. His scrambling ability is just fantastic. And, you know, I think that Moicano, I don't know if he's as good as grappler as Dariush, if we're just looking at it. However, one thing that I have to take into account for this fight is that Dariush, who knows if that chin is there anymore. Just being honest here, I mean, he got knocked out by Arman Tsarukyan in his last fight. That knockout, I didn't even know. I didn't even see what happened until I watched the replay. He got knocked out. It was like a really light punch, I would say. He also got a little bit of a knee there, but you know, that's a sign that I feel like the chin is almost gone. I watched some of his interviews, and he's mentioned retirement. This could be the last fight. I never want to hear that when I'm talking about fighters. He's had a lot of injuries as well. Moicano's just on this run. This is a hard one. I mean, I don't think that I could take Dariush at this point. Just looking at it, I think that Moicano is just on so much of a streak that I think he's gonna be my pick. But would I go with him at minus 170? Probably not. I think that it's just a little dangerous given the matchup because Dariush is a better grappler. Moicano, just in his wins, he has required the grappling really to get all of his wins, right? Except for being Brad Riddell, but that's not really like you know. I think he hurt Brad Riddell and then he choked him, obviously. So I mean, Dober grappled him. Jalen Turner almost finished him. And then obviously he ground pounded him. So he has needed some grappling. I don't think he's going to be able to out grapple Dariush like that. So it might come down to the striking. And at this point, that gets me back to Dariush. I mean, the chin just might not be there anymore. And I don't think I could justify either side. So it's going to be another one where I most likely will pass. Maybe I'll play the dog. I think it is a dog or pass fight. But yeah, I'm staying away from this. I'm going to go Moicano via decision. And I feel like he's just going to pull through. But I could also see a finish for him just because Dariush is very fragile at this moment. So give me Renato Moicano. I think that he's still going to keep the streak going. And, you know, he can't lose. As you know, he has reasons to fight. Obviously, you know, if you guys look at his social media, this guy's a king at social media now. So I think he knows what he's doing, and I think that this is he's going to continue the run. But I probably would stay away from this. Dog or pass for me. Next fight we have is Jiri Procházka versus Jamahal. This is going to be another 50-50 fight, in my opinion, and I feel like the main card is full of them, so far at least. Looking at the odds, pretty much pick them. I mean, Jamahal opened up minus 130, now he's minus 125. There was a point where he was an underdog. this is truly another 50-50 fight because both guys they have pretty high volume and their defense is really lacking. I mean, look at Yuri's defense, 39%. I think we know why at this point. This guy just sometimes he dodges punches and blocks punches with his head and his chin, and that's not the best recipe, especially if you're going against some of the best strikers in the world like he has. Um, we saw what happened when Alex Pereira knocked him out twice. The second time he made it look so easy. I think that Yuri is just going to continue to fight like that. That's just who he is. He's a kill or be killed fighter, the epitome of it. And most of the times he has been killing people. I mean, he has great power. His straights are fantastic. Jamahal Hill, kind of similar, right? We look at 46% defense. He is a little bit more defensively responsible, but still his hands are pretty low. This guy keeps his hands pretty low, and he could also get checked at any point too. So the layoff too for Jamahal Hill is a bit concerning. I think that I just feel like I don't know if he's been dedicated to the fight. He's been going a lot on social media, just talking a lot, which I think is good. I think it's good that he's promoting the fight. But in this fight, in a 50-50 fight, and in a fight where I think both fighters are just gonna go all out and see who the best brawler is, in a sense, I gotta go with Yuri here. Who knows? His chin might be gone at this point because that last knockout was pretty devastating. Jamahal Hill, I do tend to agree with him that he was more so caught. Still got knocked out, but he was more so caught rather than what Yuri went through in his last fight, where I think that Alex took a lot from him from that knockout. Yeah, I think that I'm going to go with Yuri because I still do think that his warrior brawler spirit is going to be better than Jamahal Hill's in this fight. But would I recommend going Yuri? I don't know. I don't know if there's value on either side. Maybe a dog and pass if you want to feel a little risky. I mean, plus 105 is not bad. Yuri Procházka inside the distance potentially is another good one. I mean, plus 130. So you might as well go with that because I don't think this fight's going decision for sure. I think both of these guys have talked too much, and I think either one of them are gonna try to knock each other's head off. And Yuri, by the way, I mean, we also have to remember that he does have a submission game. I mean, he submitted Glover Teixeira, so maybe it could be a ground and a submit where he knocks down Jamahal Hill, then he submits him. So that's not out of the card. So that's why I would say if I were to go with Yuri Procházka, might as well just go plus 130 here, see what happens. Same thing for the other side. I think this could be a track. I mean, both. It seems like most people are thinking what I'm thinking right now. So yeah, pick here is going to be Yuri Procházka via KO. Dog or pass again for me, but I think I'm gonna probably pass overall. It's a little risky for my blood. Going to the co-main event of the evening, I think we're gonna have one of the most high-level fights in UFC history in these last two fights. The first one up is going to be Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Champ Merab, obviously, he's now plus 250. So he opened up at plus 170. People have been just going with Umar. Now there's been a little bit of a buyback here. Umar, obviously everyone's going with him. He has that Nurmagomedov name. I've been doing a pretty deep thought on this fight because this fight's another one of those where most likely it's going to go decision, and Merab is just the king of decision. I mean, I don't know if this guy. I don't remember the last time this guy has lost a decision in the UFC. Probably never, honestly. Let me just go check that. I think everybody knows his game at this point. So he did lose split decision in his first fight, where he got 11 takedowns, but that was 7 years ago. So obviously he improved much since then. And ever since then, he's just been, going with the machine wave decisions. He did knock out Marlon Moraes, but that's about it. So in a fight where I think it's most likely going to decision, I mean, it's tough not to factor that in when trying to pick who's going to win this fight. I think that overall, I'm probably going to go with Umar still. And the reason why is that I think that Umar presents a challenge that is a little bit different than some of the fighters that Merab has fought so far. If you look at, I think the fight that he had the most doubt in, right, where he had, I think, one of the most trouble. I do think that it was still that Sean O'Malley fight. Obviously, even though Henry Cejudo rocked him, quote unquote, maybe took a round off him, but this is going to be a 5 round fight, so we have to kind of factor that in. In Rob's 5 round fights, Sean O'Malley has given him the most trouble. I think that for what Merab did to Sean O'Malley, taking him down 6 times out of 15, controlling for 10 minutes, I don't see that happening against Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, Umar has that wrestling background. He's not a striker like Sean O'Malley, although he is a pretty good striker, and he's more of a striker than, let's say, Habib or even Islam. He just has that Dagestani wrestling. And I think that he's going to use that to his advantage in this matchup because on the feet, let's not get it twisted. It's not close at all. I don't think it's a really close fight on the feet. Umar is a much better kicker than Merab, a much better striker overall than Merab. The only thing that Merab really has in this fight is his cardio, pressure. That's pretty much it. Even in the wrestling technique and whatnot, I think that he is a better wrestler than Umar just because he commits so much to it. But Umar can wrestle too. Umar can grapple too. He's not a zero in that sphere like, Sean O'Malley might have been. Sean O'Malley is not the best grappler. He was more so just surviving. I don't think that Umar is just going to get pushed against the fence or get taken down and control for 10 minutes. I think he might get taken down multiple times throughout the fight, but he's going to be able to get back up. Merab does not have the best control time either. The reason why he's getting all these takedowns because people are getting back up, right? So you have to imagine that a person like Umar Nurmagomedov, who so far, hey, if you want to go by the stats, 100% takedown defense, has never been taken down yet. I know that that's a little different. Obviously, he hasn't fought anyone near the level of Merab in terms of grappling, but this is going to be a tough test for Merab as well. And I think that the gap on the feet is just too wide for me. So I feel like Umar is going to decision him. I do. And I think that it was tough saying that because Merab in a 5 round fight is just so hard to go against him. And I mean, I picked the lesson too. I picked Sean O'Malley to knock out Merab. Obviously, that didn't happen. I don't think that's going to happen this time. But I do think that we're going to get an Umar 48-47, 49-46, something like that. And I think he's going to be the new champion because the way that he blends MMA, mixes all the martial arts, like Habib mentioned, I mean, I think that that's just truly special in this division. I think he has it all. This is going to be his first test to really show the world that he is the most skilled 135er. I've been keeping a close tab on this guy ever since he entered the UFC, and even when he first entered, I thought that he was going to be the future champ, and I'm not going to let that dissuade my decision making here. I think that no one really beats him in that division for now, and yeah, I'm going with Umar via decision. If we look at the odds, he's minus 300 right now. I wouldn't mind having him a couple parlays or so. Maybe the over 2.5 could be a little better. Minus 280, over 4.5 rather. Decision minus 125. I don't really like those odds, even though I think that's what's going to happen. Maybe a stab at this could be good, but yeah, I think his money line and maybe the over could be good potential plays. But I would go Umar via decision for my pick here. Next pick and fight that I wanted to go over. It's going to be the main event. So this one is going to be Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Obviously, a rematch from a few years ago. Looking at the odds right now, we have Islam at minus 370, open up at minus 300. Going back to that fight that both these guys had, I think people have been saying, or not people, but Arman at least, he's been saying, hey, it was a short notice matchup, right? So obviously it was short notice debut. and he took down Islam like once, I think. One out of 12 times, controlled him for a minute and 47. Islam obviously showed him their levels to that. But this was how many years ago was this? This was like 5 years ago. So both of them are two totally different fighters at this point, both much improved. I don't know if we can take too much away from how the first fight went. I think the simplest way I think to potentially break down this fight is how both of these guys, because they do have some similar opponents that we shared, right? So the most similar opponent obviously is Charles Oliveira. I mean, Islam made quick work of this guy. Arman had a split decision win. I do think he won decision, but still, he did go to decision with Charles Oliveira, getting a little dicey on the grappling against Charles Oliveira, and we saw what Islam did to Charles on the ground and rode him like a horse and made him quit. Since then, he's beat Volk, one of the greatest fighters of all time, knocked out Volk in the rematch. Volk on short notice, obviously, but still knocked him out. Fought Dustin Poirier on staph infection, too. I think he had like a staph infection in his knee. The first time they fought Volk, something about his dehydration or something, and, he fought at like 5 a.m. his local time. There's a lot of things that I think that could come into play of why Islam has had some uneven performances. Could be the weight cut, maybe. He's cutting a lot of weight. But when I'm watching Islam Makhachev, I see the pound for pound best fighter in the world right now. I don't see any weaknesses in this guy's game. Let's just look at what he did. I mean, he submitted Dustin Poirier, was outstriking DP at various points of the fight. So he's outboxing DP. Knocked out Alexander Volkanovski before it was cool to knock him out, right? He's the first man to do it in the UFC. Beat Volk in that first fight, where he was once again like dehydrated, fighting at a weird time. Charles Oliveira was on a crazy run. I mean, this guy was like, people were talking about him as potentially the lightweight GOAT at that point. Stopped that in its tracks. So I think the accolades here is just too much for Islam. And, I understand that Arman has had a great run himself. He's beat, Beneil, obviously after Charles knocked out Beneil. But he did knock him out. Split decision against Charles. I do think he got a unanimous decision there. But other than that, I mean, losing to Gamrot, that fight could have gone either way, but he still went, kind of almost life and death against Mateusz Gamrot there. So, I can't justify playing Arman. I think that those dog odds are just a bit of a trap, honestly, laying out there for people who like to chase dogs. And I think Merab actually is a better. I were to go with a dog in either of these fights, I'll go Merab. I mean, he's the champ. This fight's going to go decision mostly, so I think Merab's a much better dog. I just don't see where Arman has Islam covered. He doesn't have him covered in the striking. Maybe the grappling, but I think that could only be for maybe a round. Worst case scenario, 2 rounds. So I think worst case scenario, I think Islam wins 48-47, but I think that most likely he's going to win at 49-46, or he might finish Arman Tsarukyan, because I think he's going to be motivated to answer some of those questions that people had in that first fight where he 30-27 Arman. So yeah, I like Islam here. Would I go with the over-under? I think it's a little tricky. I do think that this fight potentially could be a finish, because given how both these guys fight, I think they're going to go all out. And yeah, one other thing I would like to say about this, I mean, Arman, he had all these comments about, fighting only for the money and, maybe potentially retiring after this fight. I saw them on some social media, and, I don't know if this guy has the, maybe he's just playing mental warfare, who knows, but I don't know if he has that mentality of trying to be the GOAT, or have mentality of, being the champ, really. And I think that to be an all-time great like Islam, obviously maybe he catches them luckily on like a punch or a kick, right? I mean, we saw what happened when Leon Edwards kick the champ out of Usman. But I think Islam's built a little different. I think that he is closer to his prime than Usman was there. And I don't know if Arman is going to be that sharpshooter that can pinpoint that lucky shot, right? Because I think that Leon had that lucky shot, and his game was he has that in his game. But Arman, was this guy going to do? Like throw an axe kick? I don't know. He might throw a lucky punch, but I just see Islam covering him in all facets of the game. So I think it's a confident pick for me that Islam is going to win. So I'll go with Islam via, I want to say inside the distance to give myself an out, but I could see him knocking out Arman here. I could see him catching him. So I'll go by Islam by knockout. Let's look at the odds for that for right now. I mean, plus 575. It also is same thing for Arman. So people see that as a similar result there. So out of these fights on the main card, what would I do if I were to give you guys, one play? I mean, this might sound really square, but I think both of these guys are going to win. I'm going with Islam and Umar. I mean, I feel like, very square, right? Like picking both the guys out of Khabib's camp. But I do think that both of them should be able to win. Worst case scenario, they get a really close decision and could be debated and contested or whatever, but I just don't see how either of those other fighters are going to have their arm raised at the end facing this much skill, pedigree, accolades. These guys from Dagestan, I mean, these guys they're just money. And I don't think either of them are going to lose in this matchup. So if we look at the odds right now, I mean, minus 370, minus 300 for Umar. We get that at minus 144. So I think that that's a safe lock. I would play that. So yeah, that's going to be my, kind of parlay of the week or safety parlay of the week, if you want to call it that. But I like both of those as a parlay there. That about does it for the main card breakdown for UFC 311. Obviously, if you guys want to talk about the prelims or early prelims, please join us on the Discord. We do have a lot of conversations there. Always talking about fights and whatnot. So I think that will be, I'll leave that with you guys. Please join the Discord. Sign up at purepicks.gg. We're trying to make 2025 as profitable, if not more than 2024. So best of luck, everybody. I'm out.